Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing well and staying safe at this time. This is Radhika here again, and this video is going to be about how does the abandonment wound show up in a person's adult relationships. So, in the last video, we saw what exactly is an abandonment wound and how does it come about in a person. And we also saw the three types of attachment styles that a person develops when they have a certain sort of abandonment wound in their childhood. So, in this video, what we are going to see is that since all of us carry this abandonment wound within us, within our energy, body, or trauma body, or whatever you want to call it, it shows up in the other relationships we have in our life in different ways. So, um, and by other relationships, I mean the romantic relationships a person has in their life, but also any other relationship. So it could be the relationship you have with your child, it could be the relationship you have um, with like a friend you go skiing with or skating with or something like that. So basically any social situation, it could show up in your work life, it could show up in your friend circle, etc. Anyway, or someone you're dealing with, doing a contract with, etc. But yeah, mostly in romantic relationships you can see it to a greater degree because those are the more intimate kind of relationships a person has in their life. So what this does is it shows the abandonment wound. It shapes how we interact and how we operate in regards to other people. Because basically, what is abandonment? Abandonment is like the separation that you experience in your relationship with respect to the other person. And you abandonment is basically when the other person leaves you per se. It might not be physical, this leaving is not always physical. It could be like two people who are in a marriage for 20 years but they feel separate. They are married, they have the contract of marriage, they have a house, they have kids together, etc. But all that only means things to a degree in the earthly realm, but in the emotional capability they are still very much separate, and they operate as two separate individuals. The union hasn't happened, the completeness that you are supposed to feel in a relationship has not happened, or has had happened at a point and has like drifted away because of all these wounds coming up and the triggers showing up, etc. So that's basically why the abandonment wound is important in adult relationships, because it shapes these relationships to a great degree. So yeah, so let's see how the abandonment wound can appear in a person, and how do you recognize whether what your style of wounding is and what other person's style of wounding is, because everyone had a different backstory. So everyone comes into these relationships with their own backstories, with their own triggers, with their own coping mechanisms, avoidance mechanisms, etc. So it's good to learn about this, because then you understand more about yourself and maybe even your partner or your partner to be, etc. So yeah, so these wounds show up as three types of attachment styles, and then there is the fourth attachment style, which is where we want to be, which is the secure attachment, which is like the balanced way of dealing with the abandonment wound. So let's see the first three in this video. So the first one is dismissive avoidant. Okay, so this is a child who has an abandonment wound where the caregiver did not connect with the child. So either they were actually absent, completely absent from the child's life, or they were there but they were emotionally unavailable to the child, or just unavailable in general. They could also be physically unavailable, but also emotionally unavailable. So what happens is, such a child, they might have expressed themselves, they might have tried to express themselves multiple times when they were a kid, but the messaging they got from their caregivers was either that you are not worth my time, you are not worthy of, my emotions towards you, you are not worthy of love. Sometimes it could also be like something's wrong with you. If that child was told that you're being too emotional, you're being too something something, etc. So what this causes is, it causes the child to feel like maybe I'm not good enough, or something is wrong with me, or I'm not worthy enough. And over time, this child slowly takes this programming, and because of this programming, they start telling themselves that I'm not worth it. So they might stop taking care of themselves in a certain way. If the wound is too big, then you will see people who are like abusers of alcohol, drugs, etc. So they're harming their body, because the self belief of you are not good enough is too strong in such a person. So they attract circumstances where the universe is also telling them you're not good enough, and they can fall into that trap. At the lower degrees of this wounding is where a person, they are taking care of themselves, they are trying to better themselves, etc., but there is some aspect of themselves that they are not taking care of. So say the parent was giving the child everything, like physically, food, shelter, clothing, etc., education, but they were not giving them attention, or they were not giving them love, or they were not giving them understanding or their time. Then such a person, they do not give themselves love, understanding, time. Such a person will work themselves to death. They won't give them the gift of time, the gift of leisure, the gift of relaxation. Um, so in the least case, it can show up like that, of a person who's completely shut off from their emotions, who are like a workaholic. They just want to work all the time, and even in work, they're like trying to achieve something, but they don't exactly know what, because they might have achieved a great degree of success in their work, but they still don't feel like they're good enough. So that is like the dismissive avoidant personality's behavior. And such people, when they are in a relationship, the attachment style is that they give the other person, they try to give the other person everything, but they hide a part of themselves from the other person. And it's a very subtle way they do this. So they might give the other person time, they might do whatever the other person asks them to do, but there is going to be that really vulnerable part of themselves which they always keep hidden. So they always deal with their own emotions in some repressed, weird sort of a way, where they tell themselves again and again that I'm not feeling sad, I'm not feeling bad, I don't feel grief, I don't feel stress. So they are like trying to repress every emotion that comes up in them, and trying to be more robotic. Um, so such a person, such if you see this style in yourself or your spouse, then you can say that this is like a dismissive avoidant attachment style that you see in yourself or that person. So yeah, that's how the dismissive avoidant style shows up. I think I covered it all. um, so yeah, it's this subtle saving of oneself. It's like you want to have a relationship, but still there is a part that you need to keep like safe and secure within yourself, because you don't trust 100%. Even a spouse of 30 years, you don't trust them completely with your emotion. Um, so that so yeah, that's the dismissive avoidant. And often, if you grew up in a narcissistic family, and if you were like the forgotten child, like not the scapegoat, not the golden child, but you were just forgotten, because the narcissistic family was too busy with other stuff, etc. You have this you mostly will have this style of attachment if you were the forgotten child. Then the next one is anxious preoccupied. So this attachment style comes from a childhood where the parents were really overbearing on the child, very controlling, very dominating, very like we are like this, we are like that, our family is this and this, and like building an ego around certain aspects and then putting everything else in the shadow. So the first attachment style is where the child felt completely like forgotten, like we don't care about you. This style is very much the opposite, where the child was given a lot of attention. So this could be like a golden child. But many scapegoats also can be anxious, preoccupied, because they were given mixed signals. So they are more on the third attachment. But yeah, anyways, so this attachment style is a lot of golden child people will fall in this category. So this is where a lot of attention was given to you, and you were praised for certain aspects of your personality, but certain other aspects of your personality were put deeply in your shadow. So say it's a family which is very intellectual, right? So if a child in the family was very smart, they were very praised for their intellect, for their smartness, and maybe the family is extremely scientific. So anything that is not scientific, that is like mystical or spiritual, is put in the shadow. So they are told from childhood that all this religion and spirituality is crap, and you don't have to pay attention to it, etc. And the child grows up with this personality built around all the input that is given to them by their caregivers, and they totally buy into it because the caregivers are also caring a lot for the child when they are buying into this. But if they don't buy into it, then the caregivers, now here it differs. Some caregivers might be like outright punishing the child, that you have to do this, you have to do that. But on the other side, the caregivers might not be so like apparent in their dislike of child's certain aspects of their personality, but subtly they might be giving hints like, why do you do this, something like that, or uh, you why didn't you try that instead of this. It's like very subtle, but the parent is trying to influence the child to go this way or that way. So such people, when they grow up, they become what we call as the anxious preoccupied. So their mind is always preoccupied with trying to please the other person in the relationship. And it's so what such people do is they mold themselves according to how the other person wants them to be. So if the other person wants them to be aggressive, they will be aggressive. If the other person is very relaxed and they want them to be relaxed, they'll be relaxed. So these are the people you call as people pleasers, and a lot of like scapegoats also fall into this category actually. So actually you will find scapegoats across all three categories. I'm not saying they only some categories specific to them, but definitely a lot of forgotten children, they become dismissive avoidants. And scapegoats can be like anxious preoccupied when they are people pleasing, but then they can flip the switch when they've had a lot of nonsense from the narcissistic clan, and they can become dismissive avoidants where they're like, I don't care anymore, like I'm putting up my walls and you can't come in, sort of a thing. Um, so yeah, I mean that's definitely okay with a narcissistic family or a narcissistic person, but this is in general how the abandonment wounds shows up in all adult relationships and how you can basically notice it in yourself. So yeah, I was saying the anxious preoccupied attachment style, these people become people pleasers. A lot of times they don't know what their own opinion is about a situation. They might just go with the majority opinion, or they might go with an opinion of a person they deem, who's like the who they want to please. If they want to please that person, they will go with their opinion, even if they feel like I have a different opinion. Like, it's not like they don't have an opinion, they actually might, but they feel like I don't want to say it, or like, let it be. Because anxious, preoccupied, they don't want to rock the boat too much. So yeah, if you see all of these things in your personality or your partner's personality, or whoever you're wondering about that person's personality, then probably they have some tendencies of anxious, preoccupied. And then at the this is very like subtle level, but at the great level of this attachment style, like for a golden child, they show extreme clinginess, clingy behaviors. So this is a person who always needs external validation, like a narcissist, basically a grown-up narcissist, who's always trying to praise themselves, who's always trying to validate themselves in other people's eyes, who's always like singing praises about their own things, who want energy. Basically, they need energy to come from the outside to give them validation, because that's what happened in this child's childhood. They got a lot of validation from outside, and now they don't know how to live without that validation coming from the outside. So so people who have this attachment style, or this style of an abandonment wound, uh, for them the mirror becomes the society, or the clan they are in, or what image they have. So, because they had to abandon certain parts of themselves when they were children, and they did not know all this, they did not have any information at the time, but the abandonment of those parts is so huge, it's to such a great degree that it's very difficult for this person to integrate those parts again. So if your parents were very flexible, if you were being emotional, they were like, fine, they're being emotional. If you were being logical, they were like, fine, they're being logical, and they were okay with all parts of your personality, then it's very easy for you to integrate all those parts. But if you grew up in an environment where being emotional was a strict no no, and which was frowned upon, which was, you were called weak, or whatever, some bad words, etc., then the the separation of those parts of yourself is very big, and you have to travel a big distance to integrate those parts of yourself. And that's what happens in most narcissistic people's life, that when they grew up, they had a very great separation of certain parts of themselves. And when they grow up, they basically don't know how to integrate these parts. And that's why you will see someone who's a very narcissistic person who has lost certain parts of themselves, like, say, it's a very evil, cruel, narcissistic kind of a person. When they see a very kind, beautiful, like, gentle, very loving, compassionate person, they feel this extreme attraction towards that person, because at an energetic level, what has been lost in this narcissistic person is present so highly and so visibly in this other person, that they want it, and they just want to grab it. And that's why it comes out in very evil ways sometimes, like making the compassionate person feel bad. And basically they're just trying to get some energy from this person. And I'm laughing now, it's not like laughing matter, but when you understand this to a greater degree, you will understand that this is all happening at a very energetic level, which is beyond the control of any of us. But yeah, it's no laughing matter, but it's good to understand what is happening when you are in that kind of a situation. So yeah, so that's what I was saying, that they always look for validation from outside, and certain parts that they have abandoned in themselves are extremely far away, far out of their reach. But of course it can be made better. So if you find yourself anxious preoccupied, you can definitely make it better with some inner work and some inner child work. um, and if you see this in your partner, then it's good to learn about it, because you will understand at what point you should maybe stop making an effort or make more efforts, or make efforts in certain areas of your life, etc. Okay, then the last one is fearful avoidant. um, so such an attachment style is is basically uh, is basically found in children who grew up in extremely confusing environments. So if your parents were not very consistent, if they were very different based on different times in their life, like maybe at one point they were giving you extreme attention, at another time maybe they had some things going on in their life and they took away all attention from you. So what happens is, in such a child's life there's a lot of confusion with relation to human relationships. So they don't understand how a relationship is going to play out. Is it safe, is it unsafe? So everything becomes like a it becomes like a safety issue for this kind of attachment style, because they feel that um, there's no reasoning, there's no logic, everything becomes very chaotic and everything becomes like anything can happen at any time. So in a way it is good, because if you grew up in such an environment, you learn that life cannot be controlled. But also, like, fearful avoidance, many times they become control freaks, because they want to they see, if they fall on both the sides, dismissive avoidant or anxious preoccupied, they always want to control. So let me explain one thing. So dismissive avoidance, even though they are not trying to connect so deeply with a person, they are trying to stay away from a person, they are also still trying to control in a certain way, and the control is keeping this other person out of their life. The anxious preoccupied is trying to control in a very different way, in which they are trying to please the person to control, or they're trying to project an image of themselves in trying to control. So everything is related to control, basically, because you don't want to be abandoned. That is the main crux of the matter of all of these attachment styles, is that you want to maintain your relationship, and you want to also maintain being in your safe zone, in your comfort zone. And which becomes very difficult, because there's this other criteria, which is the other human being, who comes with their own baggage and their own issues and their own attachment styles. So yeah, it's a complex topic that I'm trying to discuss here, but I hope you guys are getting what I'm trying to say. So yeah, the fearful avoidant, they fall between the two categories. So if you are the kind of person who plays hot and cold with other people, like one day you will be like all nice with them, and you're like, oh, this one is my best friend now. And then 5 days down the line they say something that hurts you, and suddenly you go back in your shell and you are like, like you break contact with them, or even if they contact you, your contact is extremely minimal, extremely, dismissive to a degree. Then you fall in the fearful avoidant category, because you you blow too hot and then you blow too cold, you're not consistent. And maybe that is what happened in your childhood. When you were given praise, it was a lot of praise. When you were given criticism, it was harsh criticism. So when you have had that kind of an attachment style, that is the way you show up in the world to other people. So fearful avoidants are extremely moody. You might have like volatile outbursts, you might have like a lot of resentment towards other people. And yeah, what else? It's kind of like this feeling like you want a relationship but you don't want it. So it's like, this person who's confused if they want it or they don't want it, and then they keep going back and forth that I want it, but then when they go, they get scared that I'll get hurt again, so then they withdraw, and then when they withdraw, they start feeling alone, and then they go again. So it's like this dance that this person keeps doing with the other person. So yeah, if you see that in yourself, or if you see that in someone, whoever you're thinking about, while watching this video, it's probably they have this fearful avoidant type of personality or attachment style. And yeah, it is, this fearful avoidant is also caused by an abandonment wound where they wanted the parent, but then when the parent were there in their life, they got kind of tired of the parents moods or mood swings, or after a point they just realized maybe I'm better off without my parent. And there might still be a lot of love there with the parent, because the parent has given appreciation and love, etc. It's not all dry, the relationship hasn't been dry all the time. Like in a dismissive avoidance case, they are always dry, so they are like, I don't care about these people anymore, I don't want relationships anymore. In the anxious preoccupied, it's like, I need it, I need it. It's like that like, it's like a need. It's like, I need the appreciation, I need it. It comes on their, it builds their sense of self, the approval or the feeling of intimacy they get from other people. And fearful avoidant will swing both sides, so they will either hate someone or they will love someone, and they will go like extreme. So a lot of narcissistic people also are in this extreme fearful avoidance zone. And sometimes, they will then completely dump the other person, because they might also be, they might go too much on the dismissive avoidant side. And when you're too much on the dismissive avoidant side, you have kind of cut off your emotions from yourself to such a degree that the whole world becomes for you like a game of chess. And then when certain piece is not making sense in your gameplay, you just sacrifice it. So that's what a lot of people who are narcissistic, who have this attachment style, they might end up doing. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful to you guys in some way. I also have a post on the community section that actually describes all these behaviors in a greater degree. But then again, we all have these behaviors in different degrees, so it's kind of hard to grasp these concepts as like a science. So try to grasp it more at an emotional level, where you're able to read into people, not so much like by the book that check check check, not like that. Just see other people's behavior and try to understand it at a holistic level, how people relate with each other. And I think when you do that, it will be much easier for you to categorize people, that this is coming from this and that is coming from that. So it'll be easier for you to not see it, don't see it as a science, see it more as an art of living with other human beings who are also evolving every day. So yeah, so that was this video, and in the next video I'll discuss how to heal the abandonment wound. And then later there'll be another video where you will see how a person who has completely healed from their abandonment wound, and when I say completely, take it like 95%, 95% healed from their abandonment wound, how do they show up in the relationships they have, in the life they lead, how do they feel in their body, how do they feel usually while living life. So yeah, so those are the two other videos coming up. So I hope this was useful to you, and as always, I wish you all a lot of love and a lot of light. Thank you. Bye.